Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to another episode of Geography Stories. So I was walking back to my car tonight after work, and I was trying to come up with an idea for a new segment for this increasingly popular YouTube channel, and I thought, what are some things that I'm interested in? What do I sit in front of the telly night after night? Not night after night, I'm not a sicko, watching, and one of those things is true crime. I love true crime. I don't love crime, but I like the topic of true crime. And I know I'm not the only one out there. So I thought, how could I combine these two loves, geography and true crime? And so we've arrived at this new segment, which took me another 2.5 hours to come up with a title for, and that is Crime Time Geography. Yep, that's how I spent those 2 hours. Okay, so this crime is from 2003. And it spans the globe, as you can probably tell from this string that's drawn across both the hemispheres. Now, you might look at this and already know what crime I'm about to talk about. If you don't, that's okay. Not everybody is into this shit as I am. So, we begin this story at a shipping port in North Korea. The shipping port is called Nampo. Now, unsurprisingly, and unfortunately, there isn't any street view available of Nampo, so I can't really show you what it's like on the ground, but I do know that it is a very large city in North Korea in the DPRK with a very big shipping industry. A lot of military ships are built in this area as well, including submersibles and warships and other boats, you know. Can you tell I know a lot about this city? I believe this is the second largest city in North Korea, but correct me if I'm wrong. Alarmingly, there is evidence to suggest that there is a uranium enriching facility in this region. So what is enriched uranium, you ask? Or what is uranium? Uranium is a chemical element, and there's several varieties of uranium depending on how many neutrons it has. So naturally occurring uranium, the most common uranium, I think it's like uranium-238 or something, it isn't particularly radioactive, but there's another kind of uranium called uranium-235, I think. And this one is very radioactive because of the number of neutrons it has. And this makes uranium very unstable. So uranium-235 is an example of what's known as a heavy isotope. So a heavy isotope such as uranium-235 contains a nucleus that you can split, essentially. And it also has another unique feature. So not only can the nucleus split, which I'll explain what happens when it does in a moment. Once one nucleus splits, it's what's called a self-sustaining chain reaction. So when one nucleus splits, the energy that's created from splitting that can create nearby atoms to split as well, and it just creates a chain reaction. So what happens when you split a nucleus? Well, it's not great. When you split a nucleus, it expels a disgusting amount of energy, and that is what's known in the biz as a kablammy, or a bomb. So yeah, that's that. What am I talking about? Why am I talking about this? This is going to be the biggest digression ever. Anyway, so here we are in North Korea at this uranium enrichment site, which is worrying because when you enrich uranium, like it's in the title, isn't it? You are making it more powerful. You're adding atoms to the uranium to make it stronger and make the self-sustaining chain reaction, or kaboomy, even greater. So that's concerning. How did they know that they had one here? Well, apparently, according to an article I read a while ago, there's some satellite imagery, I couldn't find it, of this particular area in the wintertime, and everything is covered in snow except for one particular building here, and that is because of the energy or the heat generated in such facilities that are enriching uranium. Yeah, so why might someone want to enrich uranium, or why might they want to do it in North Korea? In the DPRK? DPRK, I forget which one. Well, there's only two reasons. If you wanted to generate power from nuclear energy, or if you wanted to make a nuclear weapon. So which one are they doing? Who knows? This does loosely pertain to what I'm going to talk about next, so hang in there with me. Interestingly, the way that you enrich uranium, don't try this at home, is by centrifugal forces. So basically they spin it really fast and then they chuck the extra atoms in and they all combine, and that's it. That's science. Cool. So how does this pertain to what we're going to talk about next? Well, shit like this is pretty expensive, very expensive to invest in nuclear weapons. And I don't know if you know this, but the economy here isn't doing too crash hot, so they need to fund building these devices. And one way they did it, or they do it, is by selling the drugs. So back to the port of Namfo, where the story begins again. So in 2003, a cargo ship departed from Namfo in North Korea. That cargo ship was called the Pong Su. It had 30 North Koreans, I think, on board. They were going to deliver a fleet of BMWs to, I just did air quotations then, BMWs to Melbourne, Australia. That's weird. North Korean cargo vessel would certainly draw a lot of suspicion in Australian waters. Anyway, let's get back to the port. So before they go on that journey, they leave the port and they sail over to, just follow this red line with me here, don't get tangled up, across the Yellow Sea. And they've travelled to this place here. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like Yaikan, China. It's China. Anyway, and what did they do here? They picked up some feldspar. Feldspar is probably one of the most common minerals on Earth. It makes up like 60% of the Earth's crust. So it's like got calcium and other shit in it. Anyway, they picked up a load of feldspar and they also painted the ship. So the Pong Su, they got a makeover, a glow up. Anyway, now curiously, from here they did not continue on their journey to the greatest city in the world, Melbourne, Australia. They returned back to Namfo, but not all the way back. Rather than going all the way back to the port, they stopped off at a secluded island. This island is called Sister Island. The ship manifest when they left the day before reported that there were 30 people on board. Then they travelled to this island, Sister Island, and 2 more people joined the party. And one more thing joined the party too, and that was 50 kilograms of heroin. So this is where it's suspected that the heroin made it onto the Pong Su, along with 2 extra minders, I think, people that are associated with the ruling party, the North Korean ruling party, to make sure that the crew didn't defect. Anyway, all right, so we've got the glow up, we've got the drugs. Now the journey begins, but there's one more stop before we make it to Australia to deliver these BMWs. The BMWs are not on this boat. This boat can also not support a fleet of BMWs. I'll show you a picture of it soon. All right, so this is a long journey, cruising on down, and the next stop, Singapore. They arrived here for a fuel up or a fuel stop. I don't know how this occurs. They filled up the tank. Who knows how much diesel that would have required. And then they also did something else. Up until this point, the Pong Su was flying with the North Korean flag, which is the red and blue flag. But when they arrived at Singapore, they purchased what is known as a flag of convenience. So a flag of convenience is a term that's used to describe a practice in the maritime industry where a ship is registered under the flag of a country different from its own. So why would somebody want to do this? Well, you could probably guess. It allows the shipping company or whoever owns the ship to fly under the radar or avoid, some like particular rules or regulations that the country might have in relation to its OG country. And so the Pong Su and its crew and the ship owner purchased for around $10,000, I believe, a Tuvalu flag. That was their flag of convenience. So the reason for this was Tuvalu is obviously a nation in Oceania, and there are often ships flying the flag of Tuvalu in Australian waters, and there probably hasn't been a North Korean ship that's travelled into Australian territorial waters in probably like the past 60 years. So that's why they did it. And I know you're saying, is it that easy to just fly under the radar, sail under the radar? And yes, it absolutely is. This is a joke industry. The shipping industry is completely, well, not completely unregulated. It's pretty unregulated. And it allows for a myriad of just, sketchy activities. It could be drug smuggling or human trafficking or illegal fishing or literally anything dodgy, I suppose. So yeah, that's a flag of convenience, and I can't believe you can just buy a flag and pretend to be someone that you're not to avoid raising suspicion. So yeah, they bought the Tuvalu flag in Singapore, they pasted it over the flag of the DPRK, their North Korean flag, and filled up the tank, and now they're off again. Where to now? So after Singapore, they travel further south and they make a stop at Jakarta. They drop off the feldspar. Yeah, I guess they're just making a little bit of extra money on the side. And now the real journey begins. So they've got the fresh lick of paint, they've got the drugs, they've got the flag of fucking Tuvalu, and now they're heading to Australia. This is a long journey across a pretty sketchy ocean. The next sighting of the Pong Su occurs off the Western Australian coastline. It just appeared on the horizon one morning. And the Pong Su wasn't discreet. It sailed within 2 nautical miles, I think, of the Western Australian coastline. Over the next few days, they travelled all the way around because they have a specific drop-off location. So meanwhile, while this long journey is occurring, 2 Chinese nationals had flown into Australia. The day they landed, they were already being followed or under suspicion. So this plan was a failure from the beginning. So the idea was that these 2 drug chaps were going to rendezvous with the ship. They chose this area, but it is fraught. And the area they've chosen is the shipwreck coast. So why might you choose to drop off drugs on the shipwreck coast? Well, it's not a very well monitored stretch of coastline, because you would have to be a daft fool to try and drop something off here. It's called the shipwreck coast for a fucking reason. It is dangerous as shit. So anyway, the ship, the Pong Su, travels on up to the rendezvous point, the very random rendezvous point of Y River, or somewhere near Lorne. I think this is Lorne here. Somewhere called Boggley Creek Beach or something. Anyway, so they park. It's a wild night. The waves and the swell is enormous. It's incredibly dangerous, and they have to get these drugs to the fucking shore. 2 poor bastards from this boat who, let's face it, probably didn't have a choice in this line of work. They unquestionably were forced to do this because, remember, this whole journey is to fund the nuclear weapons program in North Korea. So these 2 guys get into the sketchiest dinghy in the world and try to make their way to shore. Sadly, on the journey there, one of the sailors falls out of the boat and sadly drowns in the waves, and the other chap makes it to shore, but the drugs are almost lost. They've lost some in the journey from the capsized dinghy, so some are floating around, and I think maybe one package gets to the shore. So one guy gets to the shore, and the body of his comrade or his colleague or probably his friend washes up too, and he buries it in the stones at this particular beach. And it's later discovered by the Australian Federal Police. He's lost everything. He doesn't have the drugs, or he doesn't know where they've washed up. He doesn't have his phone. He has nothing, no way of contacting the ship or getting back to the ship. He's just stranded in the middle of fucking nowhere. This guy just ends up lying in the bushes for days, hiding, essentially. Meanwhile, the other two guys that were waiting to rendezvous with the Pong Su, they're captured. And, you know, the whole plan is foiled. The body's discovered. The guy that's hiding in the grass is also discovered. And it's over. So there is still the issue of the 30 now, people remaining on the Pong Su. So the Pong Su has witnessed this essentially off the coast. They know shit's hasn't gone to plan because the dinghy and the people never came back. So what does the Pong Su do? The Pong Su gets the fuck out of there. They turn up the motors and they back the shit out of White River, say goodbye to Lorne, and they start just flogging it through the Bass Strait. Anyway, they get about halfway through and the Tasmanian police are highly suspicious of this very rando Tuvalu ship that's just seemingly driving wherever the fuck it wants. And this ship says, oh, we're delivering some cars to Eden in New South Wales. And the Tasmanian police say, I don't think you are. And and then shit escalates pretty quickly. So the Pong Su pretty much ceases radio contact from this point and they start hightailing it towards Eden. They are being secretly followed. I don't know how much of a secret it is, by a warship, an Australian warship called the HMAS Stuart. Fucking Stuart. Anyway, so they get to Eden and then suddenly the Pong Su hangs a really hard right and starts just fanging it, trying to get into foreign waters and open waters. It's futile because, well, for starters, it's not a great direction, but I think the idea is just to get out of territorial waters to avoid being captured. But it doesn't work. The HMAS Stuart springs the Pong Su and they chase them up the coastline, and that goes for 4 days. There's some pretty amazing footage of it on YouTube. You could probably find it. They chase the Pong Su for 4 days until they get to this point here. I forget where this is, somewhere near Newcastle maybe. And they alight the boat, they board the Pong Su and they take it over. They arrest the 30 crew on board and they are sent, I'm not sure where they're sent, probably to Sydney. Pong Su is towed into Sydney Harbour. And what happens next? Sorry, I know this is going on for a really long time. Hopefully you're finding it as interesting as I am. So what happens next? So the crew, they go on trial and they are deported back to North Korea. And devastatingly, although it isn't confirmed, it is suspected that it is almost certain that the entire crew of the Pong Su would have been executed on their arrival back to North Korea, which is just so fucked up. Yeah. Truly horrifying, very sad fate for those poor men that probably didn't want to fucking participate in this stupid fucking trip for some fucking idiot. Anyway, alright, so then what happened to the Pong Su? They didn't know what to do with it. So now you're about to lay eyes on the Pong Su for the first time on this show. And this is the Pong Su here. It's tied up and has some security boats around it. It apparently costs $2,500 a day to keep the Pong Su here. Yeah, they just didn't know what to do with it. The Pong Su stayed in Snails Bay for a number of years, which was, I imagine it would have been fascinating for the locals to have it there. It would have been fascinating for me. And then after that, they're like, oh, we've got to move Sue. And they took Sue to Chowder Bay. What is with these Sydney Bay names? Anyway, here we go. So it's 1 year later. There we go. There's the Pong Su there. So yeah, the story is nearly over, I promise. Finally, somebody came up with a solution, and that was to what is known in the industry as a scuttle. When a vessel is scuttled, it is destroyed. So the Australian Navy and the Australian Air Force, they towed the Pong Su back out to the ocean, or drove it, I don't know what they did exactly. And they towed it all the way out to here, which is about 120 kilometres off the coast of Jervis Bay, where there's a military base. So once they parked the boat, dropped the anchor, they picked a place where it wouldn't cause any environmental damage. I hope that's true. And one of the pilots got up into the F-111 and used a general bomb and destroyed or scuttled the Pong Su. And it's there where it sank into the murky depths. And that's the end of the story of the Pong Su. So before they scuttled the boat, they boarded it one last time and they took two things off the boat. They took out a radio, which was an older sort of radio. This boat was maybe 50 or 60 years old at the time, and they donated it to a maritime museum. And the other thing they took off, which is, it's so weird, they took off 30 framed portraits of the dear leader, who at the time wasn't Kim Jong-un, it would have been Kim Jong-il. Yeah, so each of the framed portraits was for each of the crewmen. There were only men on board, which they were required to take with them on their journey, which I thought was a sad final thing to find on there, which I guess just showcases what the lives of these poor bastards. They were pawn pieces in a horrific regime, forced to deliver these drugs on a really dangerous and sketchy and fraught journey, and then were just returned home and executed because that was the only way for the Kim family to save face, to divert any suspicion. That was the only way they could do that. But, yeah, so it's a tragic story, a wild story, which highlights a lot of pretty fascinating issues when it comes to the shipping industry, especially the stuff related to the flag of convenience. That is just wild to me. And this isn't the only major incident that's occurred globally related to a flag of convenience. Anyway, that's the end of the show segment that I've forgotten the name of already. Crime Time Geography? Alright, so now we'll play a little bit of Geoguessr and then I'll end the show and your misery. So I've selected two maps that loosely fit what we've just been talking about. The first one is the North Korea Geoguessr map. There isn't going to be a lot of stuff here. They only have panoramas or photospheres in North Korea, but we'll take a look anyway, just for interest's sake. And the second one, don't expect to do very well on this one either, and that is shipwrecks. So let's begin with the North Korea map and then we'll end with shipwrecks. DPRK. Okay, updated fairly regularly, last updated 2 years ago. If there's nothing to update, there's nothing to update. There's not many photos available here. We'll have all the settings on and let's play the game. Alright, so we're in a facility. It's quite cool. I know these are propaganda posters, but I really like their styling. Yeah, they're cool. So this is like the Vic Roads of Pyongyang, potentially. Who takes these photos? Welcome to Golden Triangle. Don't know. Here we have the images of the dear leaders, the dear dictators, and I think it's required that they're on every wall. This must be an old image because it doesn't have the current Kim. That being said, I don't know what the rules are. Anyway, let's take a peek outside. I'm just going to guess Pyongyang. Is this a cigarette machine? No, they're lockers. This is probably the post office, that's my guess. And yeah, I'll just guess here. That seems like a pretty good... Nope. 5 points. Oh my god, I can't even get a good score in North Korea. So it was in a place called Rason. Yeah, awesome. Next one. Oh, okay. So this is a dining room, obviously, for a hotel, and I wonder if this is the main hotel in Pyongyang. Although I have seen images of that dining room and it doesn't look like this, but that being said, there could be many images many dining rooms, I should say. This is by the same person, so they've obviously gone on a little holiday. Interesting room, that's the word. Interesting. Ornate, curiously designed, and maybe we'll just guess the same place. They're probably in Pyongyang. No, it wasn't Pyongyang, it was Yangsan, and looks like it was at this hotel here, which is curiously shaped. Alright, 26 points, I think. 24 points is all we have so far. Interesting. I thought I'd looked at every single panorama or shot in North Korea, but I obviously have missed a few. Alright, so let's just try Pyongyang for this. I'm really doing quite badly, aren't I? But slightly better score. This was up here on this mountain called Seongyuan. You know, that word that we all know together and say. Alright, another E. It's by someone different. This is by Peter Jørgensen. This must be Peter here. The bald, bright head of a Scandinavian man. This is really cute. Little village. Persimmon tree, perhaps? And a photo of this creek. So, I'm going to say south this time. Maybe it's Nampo. Somewhere around there. Probably not. It's even further south. Here. Alright, last one. Maybe we'll play this twice. Down by the sea. Or on the coast. We're looking north and we're seeing an edge. Some mist. And that there. Now, there's very popular seaside areas that the Kims often like to holiday in. And I can't quite remember where, but somewhere down here probably. So we might just go with something like that. Fucking hell. It's on this island. God damn it. Way too sunny. I did poorly. Let's play again. Alright, here we go. Now, this has to be in the capital, Pyongyang, because this is a very famous, there's this totalitarian sculpture, you know. Very aggressive style of architecture. Obviously just popped off the tourist bus to have a little look. And I'm pretty sure that's the hotel I was referring to earlier, the only hotel. Well, the only hotel a foreigner or a tourist is allowed to stay in, I think. I might be wrong. Anyway, let's just go here. Somewhere near the square. Cool, yeah, it's the Workers' Party Foundation Monument. Alright, so we're with Peter Jørgensen again. And this must be up the hills, where it's a part of the tour when you go to see where Kim Jong-il was created or born. I think that's what this area is, which is maybe like an hour out of, or 2 hours out of Pyongyang. Who knows? I was going to pick somewhere random like that. Yeah, okay, it was much further. I wonder if that was the area. The tomb of King Kongmir. Maybe I'm right? Who knows? Ooh, we are in a hotel just outside the lifts, and we're on the 800th, well, the 8th floor, not the 800th floor. One of the floors is inaccessible. I've heard that several of the floors are empty or not developed. There's just one floor that you can stay on. Perhaps it's the 8th. That is if this is the hotel that I'm thinking of. I will just have to pick it, and I don't remember where. Right, it wasn't. It's back here in this fucking hotel. Oh god. Alright, never mind. Hyangsan. Ooh, this is a curious image as well. This is somewhere, looks quite rural, doesn't it? Check out this building. I've seen this building before in a Vice documentary. What was it? What was it about? I can't remember now. I'll have to look it up after this. This is somewhere like a farming community, maybe? Oh, it's just evading me. Anyway, so bizarre. And they have the painted... You know what? I feel like this could possibly be... No, it couldn't possibly be. No. There are a lot of North Koreans that are working and living in Russia, performing hard labor. I don't think working is the right word, particularly in eastern Siberia. So over here, logging. And this Vice documentary, I recall a building like this in that documentary about the loggers, but I don't think this is actually in Russia. But then I didn't have the thought that it could be when I saw these, which, as you know from geography stories, that is something that you see in Eastern Europe, the painted trunk of a tree. Anyway, on I go again. Let's just pick somewhere like up here, close to that area, the border. Yeah, okay, so I was right that it was somewhere that bordered with, oh, well, it didn't border with Russia. Yeah, they share a border, but it bordered with Mongolia. Anyway, I was almost right. Next. Almost right. Oh, okay. We are in, I think this is in Pyongyang. This is a boat you can take a look at down on the river. Check out the instruments. It's left over from the war. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's just go Pyongyang on the river. Cool. There you go. Yeah, that's right. It is a US boat. It is the USS. No, hold on. Yeah, Pueblo. And I think they've kept it because they, sunk it or whatever. Alright, slightly better score. That was interesting. I didn't realise there were so many panoramas in North Korea. Alright, let's get out of that and finish with some more tragedy. Shipwrecks around the world. I don't expect to do very well on this. The average score is very low. Apparently all the shipwrecks are visible above the water, so that's handy. Well, isn't this something? This is very cool. So the shipwreck in question, I suppose, is here. And it's a bit of a mess. There's not much remaining. Judging by the landscape, I think that this is perhaps Iceland. But you never can tell, can you? Because I also saw these roofs and they just made me think of Norway straight away. But yeah, this looks like it's from Norway as well, So maybe I'll just pick Norway, even though I thought Iceland straight away. Yeah, we'll just pick Norway. Oh, fuck off. Oh my god, I didn't check the sun. You can't blame me for the fucking Sandwich Islands. I forget that these exist. Well, now, I'm going to have to redo the whole episode just to omit that one terrible guess. No, I won't. I didn't look at the sun. I didn't think I needed to. It looked like a distinctly Scandinavian/Icelandic setting, and you thought so too, don't lie. Alright, here we go. We have a... Not sure what this is. Maybe the remnants of a submarine, but it's just a rust bucket at this point. Quite high on the beach. Very big beach. I think we're seeing some other war, like battlefield sort of scrap metal. I wonder if this is... This could be so many places. Okay, let's just take a quick look and see if we can spy the sun. I don't know. Is this like Normandy or something? Is this a leftover from the war? Is that what it is? Don't know, but I am going to guess. I'm going to guess somewhere. Oh, I don't know. I don't think it can be Dunkirk. It looks too wavy. I don't know. I'm just going to go somewhere along here. Nope. There you go. It wasn't that at all. It was just on the fucking beach in California. There you go. I'm doing very well. Very well with 15 points. Come on. I think I just overanalyzed that past scene. It was just a rusted fucking fishing boat. Let's be real about it. Be real. Okay, so catamarans. Cool. No flags. No flags of convenience that we know of. Dark-ish watercolor. Expedition. Yeah, it says Expedition 7 Continents. And several birds. Mud. Mangrove looking situation. A couple of bikes. And this, it's been destroyed. Alright, I'm going to guess somewhere in the... Let's just check that sun out. Southern sun, yeah. I'm going to try somewhere around here. Am I? Yeah, whatever. We'll just go somewhere in here. Okay, it's French Guiana. There you go. Oh god, two more to go and I can redeem myself. So this is a... Well, this looks more like the remnants of an oil rig or some kind of like offshore processing yada with this gangway thing and whatever. Or it could just be, yeah, the front of a rusted ship. Who knows? Somebody does, but not I. And we have this unidentified black ghost. That's quite alarming, isn't it? Not really. It's not that alarming. Gosh, what gives? I'm going to say Nova Scotia. I'm not going to spend any time analysing and then getting it completely wrong and embarrassing myself. I'm just going to guess Nova Scotia based on the houses I saw. There you go. Would you look at that? Sometimes I just overthink shit. The houses just reminded me of, yeah, that area. Anyway, the way they were all scattered about, and it was very flat too. This is a cool shot. I've got very arty here by sitting in the boat. Quite a big boat. Very cool shipwreck here. Nice one to end on. However, I don't know where we are, but I think I want to pick France for this. Why, you say? No particular reason. I don't actually think it's going to be France though. Maybe it's Australia. Hold on. Let's check out the treesies. Any gum trees about? Give me a home among. Can't really tell if that sun is doing what I wanted it to. Should I pick Australia? Do the houses look like they are Australian? I don't think they do. I think this might be the US now, suddenly. Let's go up here around, you know, wherever the rich people go to the beach. Could that be it? Could be. That'll do. Yes, I was right. What a redemptive final 2 rounds. I'm pleased with those last 2. Just ignore everything else and just look at these 2 rounds here. I had 15 points up until the last 2 rounds. Happy with myself recognizing those Northern American locations. Alright, I think that's a good place to end the show. I hope you found that interesting. If you didn't, let me know and I won't do it again. Or I will, because I really like talking about crime. I just like talking. I'm going to go eat a bowl of soup now. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to sharing another geography story with you sometime soon. Hooroo.